and get some credentials, get something on your resume. Oh yes, I played with this symphony orchestra, I played with this band, I sat in, I subbed in this show. Then you got a much better shot of moving up the ladder.
Yeah. And we had talked about career path too. Let me go back to this one here about if you know, like Nashville is definitely a music town. So is LA, of course. But we were talking about, you know, industry town. If you're going to be in film and everything, you know, it's Hollywood, it's LA. If theater is like New York. But I want you to speak to what we talked about when we were on tour. Mick and I did a lot of driving, and we did a lot of talking about this webinar when we were touring the Northeast. And one of the things we talked about was this thing of, well, I'm going to move to LA, and I'm going to like give it 6 months. And if I'm not like a star in 6 months, it's like, okay, so overnight success, right, Nick? It's like, oh my God, you know, I'm going to give it 6 months. Talk to that.
Well, you just said it. You basically just said it. Well, you touched upon a couple of things. One is that if you're going to try to make this a serious career, a lifelong career, then you got to be realistic about where you want to be to do that. But that also applies to other industries too. If, let's say, you wanted to design automobiles, well, you better be in Detroit. Probably. Yeah. It's still considered an industry town. If you want to be a big-time rancher, farmer, then you better be in Texas or Nebraska. If you want to be, into the resort industry, and then you better be in Florida or Southern California. Or if you want to be in the citrus industry, you better be in Florida. So that applies to a lot of different businesses. There are hubs of any business. In show business, yes, there's New York, they all overlap. There is music and TV and film in New York and in LA and in Nashville. But, you know, for the most part, Nashville is known as a music town. Austin, Texas, live music town. New York, everybody thinks of New York as Broadway, theater, and Los Angeles, mainly television and film. So if you want to eventually, you know, try to break into Hollywood and television and film, then at some point you got to think about making the move and coming out and being on the front lines, you know, being at ground zero, so to speak. And the upside is you're right there where it's all happening. The downside is so are a billion other people. And so you got to be realistic about that. If you can come to LA, and this happens all the time, and I talk to people all the time about this, if you can come here with some credentials, that's very helpful, but that ain't going to necessarily, pave the way. There's nothing that's really going to